Miami season is officially upon us. Will it be a playoff campaign? Will it be a Messi campaign? Hello everybody, you are listening to Miami Total Football Radio, where the beautiful game collides with deep passion and analysis. My name is Franco Panizo. I am one of your weekly co-hosts of this bilingual Inter-Miami focused podcast, where we provide you with all the latest news, updates, analysis, opinions, inside information, general punditry, and much, much more via a team of seasoned South Florida-based reporters. We also go by the name of Miami Total Football Radio, which was present in full at the Inter-Miami Media game earlier this week, which we will dive into in some detail here to give you some insight as to the overall experience, as well as the highlights and the lowlights. Joining me on this week's podcast, which will be a jam-packed one, because naturally, it's our season preview pod. Yes, at long last. Well, joining me are Jose Armando, a.k.a. Island Jose, and Andrea Yanez, a.k.a. Ajicita. Guys, gals, how are you feeling day after the media game? Are those legs sore as can be, or are you guys feeling fresh and ready to go again as soon as this weekend?
Let's do it again. I'm fresh and I'm ready to go. I have a lot to say and we have a lot to discuss, so I am happy to be here, and also I am looking forward to hearing your opinions about what happened yesterday. And you, sincerely, I'm waiting for you to throw flowers my way. Okay, thank you.
Well, I know Jose, I mean, he stayed quiet there, but, you know, he said before the mics went on that he's feeling a little sore today. Jose, what's going on over there, man? You feeling some fatigue, some cramps, some soreness? What's going on?
Yeah, I am very tired today. So the recovery is not going very well. But yeah, I would agree with Andrea that she was the MVP out of the Miami Total Football Radio crew that played in the media game. I think she had a very good game, although you forgot to mention who won the game.
Well, we're not there yet. We're not there yet, first of all. We're not there yet.
But you can say it more than one time, you know? It's not a rule.
Well, we're not there yet. We'll get there in just a moment. There's no need to, it's a jam-packed episode. There's no need to go over the same thing more than once. We can touch it, cover the base once, and then move on.
You can tell who lost, right?
Well, I don't know why Jose is so sore, first of all, because it was only a 30-minute game. And yes, I think all of three of us played the entirety of those 30 minutes for our respective teams. But, yeah, I don't know.
Because the practice was last year. Remember the practice that we had at Dry Pink Stadium? Well, it wasn't Dry Pink Stadium, but, you know what I mean. That was the last time I played. So what do you expect?
Okay. Well, I mean, that was the last time I think I played. Maybe I played once after that.
Nah,
I don't play anywhere near as much as I used to. I wish I did, but this aging body is breaking down. So, but anyway, all right. Before we get into the details of the media game, let's quickly touch on some of the topics we will talk about on this week's podcast. We will, of course, do our preseason predictions for what 2023 will be for Inter Miami. We will talk a little bit of Lionel Messi. Will he come? Will he not come? Is this the year he finally dons the Inter Miami pink and black? We'll share our thoughts on that. Of course, we'll also talk about the most recent game against Austin FC, which was the preseason finale, as well as this upcoming weekend's game against CF Montreal in the season opener. We're also going to talk about some players here, including Kieran Gibbs, what his future holds, and Joseph Martinez, and where he stands in his bout to get back to 100% sharp. So, a lot to talk about, guys. We try to do it in our new window, in our new time frame. Last year, Andrea and I did a very good job of that. We made it under by a few minutes. Let's try to do it again. I know it's going to be a challenge, but if Tuesday's any indication, I think we're up for it. So, let's get to it. All right, before we get to the fun of the media game that took place on Tuesday, let's dive into some Inter Miami stuff first. Let's start with Inter Miami. And let's start with a player. And that player is Kieran Gibbs, who may not be a player or a professional player for much longer. Because we had a roundtable interview with some of the Inter Miami players and staff before the media game on Tuesday. They had like a media day of sorts. Now, one of the people that spoke was head coach Phil Neville. And I asked him something that I've been looking into as of late. So I asked Phil Neville about Kieran Gibbs, who sources have told me has been missing from training for several days now. Now, Kieran Gibbs did not dress. He was not in the matchday roster for the friendly finale draw against Austin FC. So I asked Phil Neville this, and Phil Neville's response, this was a smaller snippet in a bigger remark, or maybe I'll just read the whole thing. How about that? Let's read. I will read to you guys what Phil Neville said, and you can also find this full quote and a story with more context on Miami Total Football's Substack, which is miamitotalfootball.substack.com, and it's free, completely, entirely free. So, quote, Kieran is obviously a part of the squad at this moment in time. It's going to be tough for him to get games. He knows what we think of him at this football club, and he has probably got a decision to make himself about the next stage. Does he want to just be a squad player, or does he want to do something else? I think we have left that up to him. We have had really good, open conversations with him, and we see him as part of this club. I think he does too. End quote. Jose, I know you had very quick conclusions on Tuesday about what that all meant, so share that with us now. What are your thoughts on those comments from Phil Neville about Kieran Gibbs?
Well, I think we can all agree on, what the substance is right there. I mean, Kieran Gibbs is not part of the plans for Inter Miami this year. That's very clear. And, because of what Kieran Gibbs has been going through in the last year here in Miami, I think it's pretty clear that he's not going to have a lot of opportunities outside of South Florida. And that's why, we get closer to thinking, well, is retirement the next step for him? But regardless, I would say this, because that's a very personal decision. He needs to decide what he wants to do. Maybe he wants to play one more year somewhere else, which, it could happen. But regardless, I think, it's a situation where injuries play a major factor, I believe, because if you really think about it and you look at the left back position for Inter Miami, it's pretty clear that Franco Negri is the starter. I mean, we watched him for one game, and he's probably the best we've seen in an Inter Miami uniform out of the left back position. So that's pretty clear. But the question is, why is Kieran Gibbs not better than Noah Allen and Harvey Neville, per se, right? Because those are the two immediate choices that comes to mind. Yes, McVeigh could end up playing as a left back as well, if needed. But I think it all comes down to injuries. How consistent can he be on the field? And he hasn't been able to prove that in his time here in South Florida. So, it's very unfortunate, because it's one of those situations that happens very often in Miami, by the way. That, okay, you have a player under contract, and that's the only reason why he is an Inter Miami player, right? I think that's similar situation. We have seen that before, and it's happening again. So unfortunate for both sides, I think, because I think Kieran Gibbs deserves to finish his career at a higher point, not like this, if this is the end for him. And I think Inter Miami, if you don't want a player, it's unfortunate, because, you just have him because
then.
you have a contract. Yeah.
Pay them. Pay. If you don't want the player, then pay them.
Yeah, but they don't want to do that either. That's why I'm saying it's unfortunate.
Then because if you're a team and you don't want a player that has a contract, you have to pay them. I don't know why Inter Miami always has this drama with players. Pay them and
you only have one buyout a season, so.
And you're not going to use it on Kieran Gibbs.
Right. I mean,
you don't want to use it.
Who are you going to use it?
Yeah, you never know, but you never know how it's good to have in your back pocket. It's like Kieran Gibbs, who, according to the MLS Players Association, made $370,000 last year. Like, do you really need to buy out a contract to save $370,000 in the salary cap or the salary budget? Probably not. Probably not.
No.
You're okay with probably eating that if you have to. Which is why, going back to the quote, Phil says he has probably got a decision to make himself about the next stage. Which, when you use the words next stage, that clearly to me implies you're talking about retirement. Like, what else would be the next stage if you're not talking about playing? So, I think that they want to, have him call it a career, and then they'll find a role for him either, somewhere in the front office, somewhere with the, the second team, like we saw Ryan Shawcross do when, that deal came to an end, and then he was around for a little bit, although we haven't seen him around in a while now, so he doesn't figure into the plans. Sources have been telling me that he had been looked at as a left center back in that 5-man back line or the 3 center back look, however you guys want to label it. So clearly he was not really being considered, or at least that's my supposition. It doesn't seem like he was being considered all that much for that left back spot or the left wing back spot. And if that is the case, if that is true, then it's probably because his body just can't hold up anymore. His body literally has been breaking down consistently since he arrived in South Florida. Probably even before then, he was already having injury issues. And then there was always questions about, an aging English defender coming to MLS. And it wasn't just him. There was also questions about Ryan Shawcross, and Shawcross couldn't stay healthy. So it looks like Inter Miami swung and missed on this signing. The proof's in the pudding. Gibbs has played a total, and this is in the story, but he's played a total of 27 matches in 2 seasons, and he's had 18 starts. So not really impressive numbers. He spent a lot of time on the sidelines. Unfortunate end for him if this is the end for his time in South Florida or his time with Inter Miami as a player. But also not an unpredictable ending because, again, the signs were there that it was a risky addition because of his injury history. So,
and to be fair, I think if they were trying to play him as a center back, that's more like we're gonna try to give you a chance, right? Because we don't think you can play left back anymore, so let's give it a try. And it seems like it didn't work. It didn't work because if you're playing with 3 in the back, first off, how many games will you play with 3 in the back? He might not be one of the first 3 options. And if you're a backup in a 3-man back line, then the chances are very slim you're going to get minutes. So I think they gave him a chance in part because probably Phil wants he knows what Kieran Gibbs means, so he wants to give him a chance. But at the end of the day, I think it's just the injuries. It's just that he can hold on. He can play consistently for 3 to 4 matches in a row, and that's a big deal. At this point, that's a big deal.
Especially in a physical league like MLS. Andrea, anything you want to add there? Because I believe you once said you were an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, no, it's tough that this is happening to a player like Gibbs because, listen, even though here he was always nice, polite, always calm and collected, and every time he played also, so I think he's a good professional and he was a good role model to young players here. Of course, he has experience. He played at the top level for a big team. So I agree with you guys. It's sad that it's happening to him, but I also can understand him not wanting to stay and be the third option. So it's normal. I don't think he will retire though. Maybe he keeps on playing. Maybe we see him in another team. We will have to wait and see.
I don't know because he can either sit it out the year and not take Inter Miami's deal, because I imagine, this is just my supposition again, or my sensation, I imagine Inter Miami's telling him, look, it's going to be very tough for you to break into the team this year and get minutes, so this is what we have for you. If you want to retire, call it a career, we'll take care of you post-playing career by offering you this position, or whatever it is. And like you said, maybe he's not ready to retire, or maybe the change in profession, from being a professional player to whatever's next for him or whatever they're offering him, I mean, he's probably not going to make 330 plus K a year. So, maybe from a financial standpoint, he's also like, you know what? I'll just hold on for a little bit longer. But we'll see. We'll see how it all
He's
unfolds.
not that old. He's just 33, so he can keep playing.
33 is with the injury history he has.
I don't think he's going to want to leave money on the table. So, if he finds a way to another contract, I think he'll continue to play. And my question is, who is going to sign him, given the record?
I don't think anyone in MLS.
Yeah,
I think maybe in England, lower division England, maybe someone would be willing to take him. But, I mean, I had heard something, and I don't want to get the details wrong here, but I had heard something about him having, in his contract with Inter Miami, something about cryptocurrency at the end of the contract, or there was something in
yeah, something about crypto.
Yeah,
but who knows if it's
some details.
that crypto that went
well, that's what I'm
away.
saying. So there was some details in his contract about crypto, and I remember hearing that. I don't remember the exact details, because the crypto is like you're talking Mandarin to me. You're talking a different language. So, but I remember hearing something about that his post playing, or his contract after it expired included something with Inter Miami giving him some type of crypto stake or currency, something along those lines. But anyway, all right, we'll leave it there with Kieran News because we've still got quite a few things to talk about. It's time for some fun, because we are going to talk about Tuesday's media game, which Inter Miami really just dub this as the first media game? So last fall, that doesn't count as the first media game? I mean, we did play one, although
that was a media practice.
A media practice, although we had a media game in the practice, but okay, fine, that's fine. No problem. It was a lot of fun on Tuesday. We will give you our personal stances here, and I have to commend Inter Miami's communication staff, because what they put together the week of first kick, the week of the season opener. Hats off to them, because I don't know how many other MLS teams would give the green light, would give the thumbs up. So shout out to Molly Dreska, Rafael Cabrera, although his officiating was very, very poor, and we'll touch on that in just a second. Very dreadful.
It's very good.
Borderline disgraceful. And Michael Franca, as well as Mauricio Venegas. So, shout out to the Inter Miami communication staff, because they put on a heck of a show. It literally felt like a media game that one of the biggest teams in the world would hold. Because not only did we get customized jerseys, we played in the stadium where there will be a game this Saturday. That stadium that Inter Miami will be playing on, we were able to run all over it. We also were able to get some in-game hydration, like the things that the players, you see them, those little gels that they suck on there to help keep hydrated during games. We were able to get some of those at halftime. Post-game, we had little cups of the protein shake that the players take, as well as just like a full course sample of all the different food types that will be available at Drive Pink Stadium this year, or in some part of Drive Pink Stadium this year. There was pre-game interviews with Thomas Rongen. There were pre-match conversations in the locker room with the respective coaches. I mean, we were coached by two players on the team. What am I missing? Am I missing anything? It was just a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. They did it very, very, very well. More than I could have imagined. Because, I think the three of us have been part of the main core, or the main group that's been pushing for a real media game since 2020. Since the team started. We've been pushing for a while now. And I think this surpassed what I could have thought we would have had. This was very, very well done. I'll give a round of applause. Because, when Inter Miami does things well, and yes, we were involved, so you can say, and I can hear the argument that we're not unbiased here, but I thought they did a very, very good job with everything that they put together. Your thoughts, folks, starting with Andrea.
I really enjoyed it. I also think they did a good job. I personally was asking for a media game since long ago, since a lot of my colleagues from our outlet also got to play in the media game of their respective teams. So I was a little bit envious, because they did it at the stadium and they had the whole experience. But Inter Miami and the communication staff, you mentioned them, Molly, Michael, Rafa, Mauricio, really did a good job. They did a great job getting everyone out there, getting it organized. So I'm glad they really did it. I had a lot of fun. They did a good job with the whole experience, with getting the players involved and getting us the opportunity to play in the stadium because, this stadium is, even for Argentina, man, who are the world champions now, they were very strict in what they could do and what they could use and blah, blah, blah. We got it. We got the whole experience and we used everything that we wanted. We used the locker rooms, we used the pitch, we used everything, and we ate and we spent time with our colleagues and everyone in the media here from Miami, and especially we, well, Franco and I know, but Jose got bragging rights, so I guess it's good.
Well,
it was a really nice experience.
We also had, I forgot to mention this, and this is definitely noteworthy to me, we also had one of the team trainers walk us through the warm-up, el calentamiento. Like, we went through the different running drills, the different stretching drills, which was, it's just another nice touch. And this was a media game full of nice touches in terms of what the communication staff put together. I don't know if it was full of nice touches on the field, but nice touches in terms of the overall
even beer
event.
Because we got a six-pack each.
Yeah.
Of the official team beers.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
And if you haven't seen our social media accounts, or you didn't see them in the last couple of days, that's something else. See, there were so many things. We posted pictures of our jerseys on Miami Total Football's Instagram account on the story section, because when you walked into your respective locker room, it was done up just like the teams have when they walk in before a game. Jerseys were hung up with the shorts and the socks in each locker. Like, everybody had their jersey hung up, number and name facing you. You had the socks, the shorts, you had the cleats, you had some paperwork there that was also included, as well as that 6-pack of beer. So, again, incredible. We're going to dive into it a little bit more and give you some insight, because I know some people are really curious as to how it all went. I'm dying to share the pregame talks with you guys, because there was a very big contrast there. Jose, just very quickly, because I don't want to get stuck on any one topic, but just your overall thoughts on the media game and how it was done. Do you agree with us that it was beyond what we expected?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was great. And, it's not only about giving credit to everybody that was involved, but, it's just the dedication that they put into the event. It was just outstanding. You could see it in every single detail. They were, I think this is something that you don't put together in 1 or 2 days. So I'm sure they worked for a while in getting everything planned, and so I'm very thankful, because I really did enjoy every single minute of it.
There were big conversations, is what I was told. There were big conversations. So yes, this was clearly, they invested some money into this. So, part of whatever budget they have, or whatever department has a budget, somehow, somewhere, media game was allocated there. So again, kudos to them for getting it together. Now let's share some insight here, because the three of us arrived. We did our interviews in that roundtable setting that I mentioned earlier, and then game time. All right, we go to our respective locker rooms. Andrea and I were on Team La Noche, coached by Joseph Martinez. Jose was on Team Heartbeat, coached by DeAndre Yedlin, and surprise assistant coach Drake Callender. Which, by the way, Drake Callender being DeAndre Yedlin's assistant, that happened during, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, during our roundtable segment with Drake, because I don't know what joke was made or what offhand comment was made after the interview ended, or during, or before, but Drake was like, yeah, all right, I'll be DeAndre's assistant. And then he actually did it. So, Andrea, share with the people what our locker room was like prior to the match. As people got ready, as people got changed, and then as Joseph came in to do the pregame conversation, what was the mood? Paint the picture, set the scene. What was our locker room like?
A fun mess. Everyone laughing, everyone screaming, everyone enjoying, everyone talking, and no one wanting to play as a goalkeeper.
Well,
that was our locker room. Joseph gave a speech and welcomed us, but then he passed the baton to us, so we decided where to play, where to stand, everyone will volunteer where they wanted to play, and then Fernando Fiore took like
The
the
liberty,
position,
the
yes,
liberty
to be Joseph's assistant, and he organized and he scribbled down the names
on the
of the
whiteboard.
people
Yep.
on the whiteboard of the people who were going to be playing, and especially we had a good time, but we didn't have any conversations about tactics. I don't even know half of the people knew what position they were playing in. Of course, I chose to play as a center back because that is my position. Franco chose to play up. So
On the right
at least,
wing.
yeah, at least we knew what we were doing, but it was fun. On the other side, I think they got a little bit of more structure and a little bit of more calmness. I'm eager to see so that people know the contrast of
Wow, I
styles
can't
that we
wait.
have.
I can't wait for Jose to share that. But just to give my insight into our locker room pregame talk, like you said, Joseph Martinez comes in, he shares a few words, and then he kind of sat down and was hands off much of the rest of the conversation. He kind of just let us do our thing, and Fernando Fiore again took over there and started naming the starting 11, because at that point we thought we were playing 11, then we were told 12, then it just kept changing. So, but nonetheless, we were cracking jokes. We were in good spirits, nice and light. We weren't listening to any music, which, before the game started, I had been listening to music to get a little fired up, but then through the interviews and then through the pregame talk, that fire kind of went away a little bit. But I was nice and loose for the start of the game. Meanwhile, in the other locker room, Jose, share with us, how was your rambunctious pregame talk?
Well, listen, it was completely different. It was completely different, completely new to me. I'm not saying it's wrong, by the way. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's completely new to me. I mean, every time I played football, I don't know. I don't know if this is a Hispanic thing, but we to get excited, to get into the game, into the rhythm, you listen to reggaeton or you listen to some upbeat music. Well, I was very surprised because everybody was getting ready to roll, and so we were waiting for DeAndre to come in. DeAndre comes in, everybody's ready for the game speech. Everything starts slowly, and then they decided to go for meditation, which is something very new to me. It's something very new to me. So, Drake, the assistant coach, as it should be, took over, and he got us through meditation. Yes, for it felt like 15 minutes to me. It was probably less than that, but it felt like 15 minutes. Listen, it's the first time I'm doing it. So I'm gonna be honest with you all. I mean, as we were going through, and this is probably why it didn't work for me, I just couldn't concentrate. And so I just wanted to make sure if everybody was actually following the meditation, because you know how it goes, happy thoughts, think about your teammates. But in my mind, I was like, is this for real? Is this like the view of a soccer game? And so I had to open my eyes, and unfortunately, the camera just caught me.
That was the best. Jose had the best photos of the day. I'm going to come and say it.
Oh
the photographer was right next to me, I guess, and takes my picture, and everybody around with the eyes closed and deep silence. And yeah, he caught me. So, but yeah, everything was like, everybody was into the meditation. It was just me who apparently broke the rules. I don't know what it is. So I'm sorry to my coach. But at the end of the day, we won, so I guess it worked.
There it is. And that's why I've been laughing. I want to say that now. That's why I've been laughing, because Jose, Andrea, and I spoke after the game. We stayed in the parking lot helping a colleague out whose car got stuck. But we talked for a good while, and I can't help but laugh because Jose was, he shared this just as he did now, but in a little bit more detail even, because we had, some time to spare. And the way he painted it with the amount of silence in the room, and the way he said he opened his eyes and looked around and was like, wow, everyone's really into this except me. So he
on the ground. I mean, this is serious meditation. It's not like, if you go to a hardcore course of meditation, picture that and picture the Inter Miami locker room. That's exactly what was happening there. Like people actually on the ground doing the meditation, and I was actually, just at the same place, and it was just crazy to me. It was something different, I should say. It was different, and I don't know. I guess it worked. Again, I guess it worked. It worked.
Jose team, they had the pink jersey, right? The Inter Miami Heartbeat jersey. That's what they were all in uniform. They're all sitting there. And what makes it even funnier is that he says all this, right? He says that he opens his eyes. He tells us this. And then when the pictures come out, which I forgot to mention was another incredible detail and a fantastic one, is that Inter Miami had its actual team photographers take shots of us before the game, during the game, after the game. They also took video of the interviews and B-roll, which is just like, clips of different moments before the game, during the game, after the game. And all this was sent to us, and we have it all here in a few folders that we can access. But in that gold mine of a photo album is a picture of Jose sitting there with his eyes open as everyone around him has their eyes closed. It is incredible. I will post it somewhere, maybe on Miami Total Football's Twitter page, or I'll post it somewhere. So if you're listening to this on Thursday or later, look out for it either on Twitter or on Instagram. It's going to be somewhere because that thing is incredible. Let's talk about the game.
Yeah, one last thing. All I was thinking at some point was, man, the other locker room might be, a complete opposite of what is going on here. I mean, we had an interview just like a few minutes before that with Joseph Martinez. And, Joseph is Joseph, and he'll never change. So I can only imagine there's no way Joseph is having his team going through meditation. I just couldn't picture that. So as you can imagine, I did not concentrate on the meditation, and again, that's probably why it didn't work. So, sorry, coaches.
It didn't work for you, but apparently it worked for the team because your team, as you so generously commented, won. Your team won. Team Heartbeat defeated Team La Noche, which was dressed in the recently debuted new black kit. That's what we were wearing with our personalized names and numbers. You guys won. Team Heartbeat beats Team La Noche 3-1. It was 1-1 at halftime, but in the second half, 2 goals for Team Heartbeat in the final 5 minutes or so, and, well, you guys were victorious. I will say some analysis here. I'll provide some analysis. You guys were clearly the better team. Deserved winners, absolutely. I don't know if the teams were that well balanced, and that's to no fault of anybody's, but I don't think the teams were very even. You guys were the much better team. You guys took the lead. Our goal came off of a poor turnover at the back that one of our players capitalized on, raced forward and scored. Besides that, from the run of play, I mean, we had some moments just like you guys did, but over the course of the 30 minutes, this was a game that was split into 2 15-minute halves, you guys were clearly the better team. The second half, I don't even think we were on the field, really. You know what it reminded me of? I'm going to take you guys back to 2021. I don't know if you guys remember this. I'll mention it and see if you guys remember. Inter Miami played at home against the New York Red Bulls. And this was like young New York Red Bulls versus like an older Inter Miami. And Inter Miami couldn't get out of its own half. You guys remember that? And the Red Bulls just kept beating them to second balls and the 50-50 balls. And they just kept attacking. Inter Miami couldn't get out of its own half in that game. That was us in the second half. We insisted for some reason, especially Fernando Fiore, who I told this to actually after the game. I was like, why did you insist on building out of the back over and over and over again when it was clear that we couldn't keep the ball? Every time we tried that, we lost it. And after 2 times, okay, time to try to do something else. But 3rd time, 4th time, 5th time, 6th time, it wasn't until you guys scored the go-ahead goal and it was late and we needed to now frantically try to find a goal that they started kicking the ball long, and that helped us, progress the ball over that very high press that you guys had going on there. But at that point, yeah, it was too little, too late, and then you guys find a third later on. You guys again had the better players. You guys had more quality, and you guys were deserved winners. That's what I'll say.
I'm just gonna say I was out there looking like Nesta and Puyol. None of the goals were my fault. I want to say that. And
I don't know about
we all had fun. Yes, we had fun.
I've seen you chasing Jenny Chu on one of the sequences there, and I'm pretty sure in the clip you can hear Andrea say, "Offside!" Right? Which
Oh yeah, because she was cleared offside, and I'm gonna say Rafa gave me a yellow card because we were playing with the back line that was another guy, I don't know his name, Fiore, me, Whittingham, Chris Whittingham. We were playing for the offside because we know that we knew that we needed to get the winning goal, so we were playing with the offside. We were letting her go through so that she was offside. But then when it happened, Rafa didn't call the offside when she was clearly offside. So when I tried going, tried to catch her, but I couldn't, obviously. So I then went to Rafa and screamed at him that he was offside, and I got a yellow card. But I told him like, wow, the quality of the refereeing is so bad. So I got a yellow card. But yeah, that's right. And then they said that there was no offside, but in the first half they called an offside. So the refereeing was a little bit mushy. But let me tell you something. Maybe Rafa has a career in with pro referees because with the quality that we have seen,
he fits right in. He fits right in. He fits right. Listen,
he fits right in exactly. And let me tell you something. Franco had I got a yellow, but Franco got a red. So is anyone surprised that the ones that fight the most in this podcast got a red and a yellow?
I am fully appealing my red card because my red card, there's no way I deserved a red card. I got a yellow card, and fine, I said something towards the head official. And the head official in this game, another nice little wrinkle here, was Rafael Cabrera, who we just mentioned as part of the communication staff for Inter Miami. He was the head official. He had a whole referee jersey on. He even did a pregame interview where he jokingly, and I had even joked with him about this before, where I was like, hey, do you want a CONCACAF briefcase? How do you want to settle this? In his pregame interview, he's asked by Thomas Rongen, and you can, again, I know you guys haven't seen this yet because it just dropped today. He's asked, what are the 3 keys to the game, or 3 points to the game? Rongen asks Rafa, and Rafa responds by saying, my Venmo account, my Zelle account, and I accept cash. So maybe someone slipped Rafa something, bro, because how do you go from having offside in the first half to having no offside in the second half? I was under the impression there was never offside, but you said, Andrea, that offside was called at some point in that first half. So if that's the case, I don't know how the rules change mid-game unless, some palms were greased or something along the line. So Rafa, disgraceful refereeing. I will be appealing my red card because I need to be able to take full part in next year's game. My red card was nonsense, though. Literally nonsense. I accept the yellow. The red card, I was literally, okay, game's over. I was a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie that we lost. And we didn't play better. Not only did we lose, we didn't play well. And I'm walking off the field. I'm shaking hands. I'm heading towards Joseph. And then I hear, Franco. And I turn around. And Rafa gives me a red card. For no reason. Just for show. He wanted to be center of attention, which he was, because he got a lot of pictures there.
He wanted to be Mateo Laos?
No, so he gives me a red card. I'm appealing it. But, Jose, anything you want to add there with regards to the game?
Well, there was a lot of things going on that I'm just finding about. I mean, I had no idea the backline for Team La Noche had a plan for an offside trap. I had no idea.
Yes, that was our plan.
That's good. But no, I guess listen. I would say this. I think Andrea had a very good game. Out of the 3 of us, I think she had a very good game. I had 3 chances. They hit the post. So
Jose hit the post 3 times, and then
it was not going to be my day. I knew that.
Okay.
I knew that since the warm up because I felt something there.
So,
but I think it was. I would give Andrea the MVP for our
Miami Total Futbol Radio MVP for 2023's media game. Okay.
Yeah.
But overall MVP was Jenny Chu. And I told you guys last week.
No, I think it was the
No,
other guy.
Jenny Chu got a goal and an assist. Out of the 3 goals,
I think it was the other guy.
No way.
It was Rodrigo. I would give.
I give it to Jenny.
I would give it to Rodrigo.
Rodrigo was incredible.
He didn't do
player as
anything in the second half.
Rodrigo.
She had a good half.
She got the game-winning assist, Andrea, in the second half.
No,
Yes.
she did the hard. He did the hard
part. Yes.
He did a lot of good stuff.
Getting the ball through,
Hey,
it was like
they were both.
there were 3 teams in the middle.
They were both a step above anybody on our team. And listen, I said it last week on the podcast.
Yeah.
I also said it on a couple of other shows that I've been a guest on in recent days. Like, I've played with Jenny Chu in pickup, like 5'5", 6'6". I've played with her before. I know she's played for Mexico's, I believe, under-20 national team, so I know she can play. When I saw her on the other team, I was like, I don't know, man. That's a tough matchup for us. And then, listen, I don't know what the average ages were, but like your team was, I think, notably younger than our team. You guys had way more runners. We had a lot more older players that can't move as much, and I mean, it showed. It showed on the field. I think the teams were a little imbalanced, but nonetheless, you know what? All right, last thing, and we'll close out our thoughts on this media game, because I think we've covered almost everything. I want to hear a 1 through 10 player rating for each individual person. Not for the three of us, but Jose, your player rating for yourself, Andrea, your player rating for yourself, and I'll give a player rating for myself. You can add 1 or 2 sentences after your rating to explain why you give yourself that ranking, that point, that score. Jose, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'll give myself a 7, just because
this guy.
I could have done a lot more. I should have scored.
Franco, he was good. He almost scored. He hit the post 3 times.
He almost scored, and that almost doesn't count. But okay, all right. Sorry.
But with good, let me tell.
And he was on a much better team. But okay,
let
fine.
me make the clarification. He made those shots not like a tap in like the first goal of the Heartbeat team, but he made those shots with finesse, with touch. So, especially the third one deserved to be a goal because he hit it well. So I'm going to give him that.
So I should have scored at least once. And, you know, I was not frustrated like you with the score, but I was just a little bit out of the game at times, just because there were so many people in the field,
yeah.
And everybody wanted to score. You know, just
it was a bit selfish. It was a bit selfish of a media game
situation. See, that's the problem when you have cameras around. Everybody wants to get the picture, and so that's one thing that got in my mind at times.
So
and that's
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Yes.
Okay, Andrea, give yourself a player rating here.
I was gonna give myself a 7 because one, that was my number.
Oh, you gotta go higher.
And but now Jose said 7, so I don't know, maybe 7.5, 8.
Wow, you guys are very, very complimentary of your games.
She played a very good game.
I had a lot of work.
We gave up 3 goals in 30 minutes, man. I don't know how good of a game you could have a center back if we gave up 3 goals in 10 games.
This is individual. I mean, this is not, about...
Not my fault. The first goal was Whittingham's fault.
Yeah.
Lay the blame. Point the fingers. Let it all out post game now. That shows how together our locker room really was.
There's a picture that is so funny because you can see it, and I want to give a special shout out to my Inter Miami's photographer Carlos Goldstein, because he took good pictures of all of us. But that picture, I was laughing so hard because you can see Whittingham's face. He has his hand on his face, and I have a face like, whoa, after that first goal. Because
yeah, for people that don't know Andrea, when she plays, she gets frustrated very easily.
Yes.
When we're saying like a yellow card to Rafa, she was actually complaining. It's not like, they were joking around.
Right, it wasn't like my yellow card.
Into it. Yeah, she gets into it. So, listen, we've played in co-ed leagues before, Sunday leagues, and she always gets a card. So when she's telling you guys that she's complaining, believe it. She's complaining.
All right. I give myself, because I just said 7.5, 8 for herself. I'll give myself a 5 out of 10. I like my game better in the first half, second half. Second half, I was non-existent. Just I try to stay high.
Because no one gave you the ball. Yeah.
Well, so something else that you guys touched on briefly that we didn't share is that the first half, I think we played 12 times. We didn't end up playing the full field at Drive Pink Stadium. We played, like 3 quarters? They brought the goals in a little bit, so we played 3 quarters of the field, proper length, but proper width, I'm sorry, but not the proper length. And we played 12-12. In the first half, it felt okay. It felt good from the run of play. But then in the second half, because they didn't want to have substitutions and people being on the sideline waiting, they said everyone against everyone. Like, everybody in. So then it became like, I don't know, 16-16? I don't know what we were playing, but it was a lot of people a lot of people, and we couldn't build out. In the second half, I just disappeared. I didn't get very many touches.
You didn't get the ball, yeah.
Yeah, I only had a few touches here, a few touches there, and I just didn't see a lot of it. The first half, I liked. I had a good pass into the final third, some other good combinations. I took one ball away from Michelle Coffin when her touch got away from her. I was more involved in the first half. I got stuck in a little bit better. It was just a better half. Second half, not so much. So I'll give myself a 5 out of 10. Not good enough to be acceptable of a performance. Not for me. Not for me.
Well, who would you say who surprised you the most? And I'm gonna start saying mine. For me, who surprised me in a good way was Pedro from the El Nuevo Herald. He surprised me.
Pedro, also the colleague that I mentioned earlier, whose car got stuck after the game. The battery died, but then somehow it magically came back to life after an hour and a half after some Coca-Cola
meditation.
and some meditation. I don't know what happened. The car just came back to life on its own. I swear, I'm not even joking. It just worked. So, who was the most surprising? I don't know. I think I've played with Ramses Sandoval before, and he's got some footwork there. He's got some footwork.
All show, no substance.
I mean, he did overdo it a little bit, but like you said, this game there was a lot of selfishness, a lot of everyone playing kind of for themselves a little bit, which kind of understandable though, because there's so many people, and if you touch the ball, and because of the different levels of quality, you're not always going to get it back. So people wanted to get their touches.
There were some fights.
There were some arguments. There were some.
Not me. I want to clarify that. I was fighting, but I usually just scream and not fight with anyone.
Okay. Well, Jose, do you have anyone you want to add there really quickly? Because we're switching gears.
I think a goalkeeper, so I'll give it up to both.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, the Jesus was good.
I think both goalkeepers. First off, they offered to play goalkeeper, which nobody wanted to do, and I think they both did a good job. So those are two guys that I think we should thank as well, because if there were goalkeepers, then it would have been what it was. So
especially the one in my team who played without gloves. That's why you say guantes, right? Gloves. Yeah. So again, shout out to Inter Miami for that. It was a very memorable and one we'll look back on fondly, especially with these great quality professional style photos that we have of us playing at Drive Pink Stadium. As close as we'll get to being professional football soccer players for a day. So, all right, let's go back to the actual players that play games that matter and do this for an actual living, and that's Inter Miami. So very quickly, let's dive into this preseason finale against Austin FC. Inter Miami tied 2-2 against Austin FC at Drive Pink Stadium. And this was on Saturday afternoon. Now, Inter Miami initially in this game fell behind in the 53rd minute. Emiliano Rigoni with the goal. But strikes from Corentin John in the 61st and Rodolfo Pizarro in the 68th pushed Inter Miami ahead 2-1 in the second half. And it looked like Inter Miami was going to win this one and get their second win of preseason. But Owen Wolff, Austin FC head coach Josh Wolff's son, scores a very, very good golazo in the 86th minute, leaving it for a 2-2 stalemate. Also leaving for some frustration for Jose Armando in the press box because he had to rewrite his game story. So, what takeaways do you have from this game, Jose?
I think, it's a confirmation to me that, the team is not 100%, the product that you're going to see on Saturday. It's going to be mainly what you see in terms of energy and the way that the style the team plays. It's going to be mainly because it's the first game of the season and there's a lot of excitement. But the team is not 100%. Again, it's a common denominator throughout the preseason, the games that we have been able to watch. The team plays at a high level offensively for 20-25 minutes, and then something happens that everything goes away. When they're playing at a high level, they move the ball around. They're very effective, beautiful combinations at the top. Surprisingly enough, between Leo Campana and Joseph Martinez, they have only trained for a few weeks, and we saw some great combinations, but they just can't keep it up for too long. And I think that's something that has happened to this team. And on the other side of the field or the ball, whatever you want to say, defensively, and this is something that we have to come to expect when the team has invested so much in scoring goals. Defensively, they're very vulnerable, and I think that's something as well that we have seen throughout preseason. So I think we saw a little bit more of what we already knew. Maybe the spark, it's Rodolfo Pizarro, beautiful goal. After he scores the goal, he brings energy, and it makes you think, well, the old Pizarro, the Monterrey Pizarro, he might be back. But again, slowly but surely fading out of the game. I think it's going to be a process for this team early on.
So, before we go to Andrea here, this was Inter Miami's starting lineup versus Austin FC. It was a 4-4-2 diamond. Drake Callender in goal. Backline from right to left. DeAndre Yedlin, Sergi Christoph, Christopher McVeigh, Franco Negri. Your 6 was Gregory. Your 2 8s were Jean Mota and Rodolfo Pizarro. The 10 was Nicolas Stefanelli. And then up top, Leonardo Campana and Joseph Martinez. I agree with Jose in the sense that there were promising things in the attack, some nice combinations, some good sequences that led to opportunities that could have been put away, but weren't. So encouraging signs in that sense. Defensively, I didn't see the vulnerability that Jose is talking about. Yes, Inter Miami gave up 2 goals, but the first one comes off of an attacking set piece, a corner kick that ends up into a transition attack for Austin FC, and one simple pass in behind Harvey Neville, who was in the game at that point, exposed Inter Miami and left them scrambling and allowed Rigoni to just break free and push a clinical shot past Drake Callender. So that one comes off of an attacking set piece, and then the last one comes late on. Inter Miami's trying to throw numbers back to protect the lead, and Austin FC's throwing numbers forward. So I didn't see them overly challenged over the 90 minutes defensively. I think there's still questions as to how this team can hold up defensively. I agree with that. But we'll see in the games that matter, because we haven't really seen this back four be overly tested, because we've only seen them in one game, and that's this game. And again, I don't think that they were overly challenged. I think Inter Miami was the better team from the run of play. Probably deserved the victory, but that's from the balance of play. The final score said something else. Andrea, your thoughts, very quickly.
I liked better when some changes were made in the second half, when Joseph came up and Coco came in, and also Bryce Duke came in. I liked the combination between Campana, Pizarro, Corentin John, Duke, and Mota. I think they played very well. I think Phil will need to look at that, because if the 2 strikers don't work, maybe he could change it a little bit. We will have to wait and see to see what happens in the first games. But what I liked the most about this game was Negri. I think he'll be a good player for Inter Miami. He's a player that has a lot of nice qualities. I think he can defend well, but also he is a good player going in the attack. I think he's better than Yedlin, just from what I could see that game.
So more polished, right? Like a little more clear in his ideas. Where Yedlin, he's kind of a one-trick pony in terms of the attack. He's going to...
He's fast. And
burst the speed up there and try to whip it across.
But Negri is fast also, but maybe Reeds has a little bit of more quality in his touch. So I can see him being a big weapon for Inter Miami this year.
Yeah, because in this game, you saw Franco Negri attack more, right? Like more of the attacks were coming down his side as opposed to DeAndre Yedlin on the right. Like you barely saw DeAndre Yedlin attack in this game. And that's not to say he didn't try to get forward, but the play wasn't going through him nearly as much as Negri was. Negri was very, very involved in trying to get that Inter Miami attack going. And this is one thing that I took away from the game, and something that I think we will see as soon as this weekend against CF Montreal. There is a pattern of play, one little sequence that I saw on more than one occasion. One of them led to a clear one-on-one opportunity for Joseph Martinez that you would expect him to put away, but he didn't. Goalkeeper made a save, despite a very good look for the Venezuelan. And then the second one, it just didn't come off as well. But the sequence is essentially Franco Negri coming in with the ball down the left flank into the attacking half. And as he got into the final third, he looked to play a pass, again, this is outside the penalty area, but to the first of the 2 center forwards, which was Joseph Martinez, who checks for the ball. Now, when the pass is played, Joseph Martinez, instead of staying there to receive the pass, he just darts forward, races forward, catching the defender or his center back flat-footed. As a result of that, the ball ends up going to Leonardo Campana, who is the second of the two forwards, who's at the more close to the back post here, and if that helps paint the picture. And he, as soon as he receives the pass, he flicks it on with a one-time effort to Joseph Martinez. And again, that's what led to a clear one-on-one look in the first half, and then almost led to another opportunity, but I'm not sure if either Campana didn't get the weight of the pass correct, or if Joseph Martinez just didn't get the proper jump on it. But the second attempt at doing that, it just didn't come off as well. The goalkeeper was able to get to it first before Joseph Martinez could. Now, that was clearly something they've rehearsed, something they've worked on in practice. Algo que han ensayado, right? Rehearsed. So I asked Campana about it at our roundtables on Tuesday before our beloved media game, and Campana said, yeah, that's something they've been working on. So expect to see that over the course of this season, because that is one way for Inter Miami to unlock a defense, given that they don't really have a true number 10. Because I liked what I saw from Stefanelli. I liked what I saw from Negri, I like what I saw from Stefanelli. But again, Stefanelli, as we've mentioned before, he's not a true 10. I don't necessarily think he's going to be hitting through balls left and right to spring the strikers. So I think it's going to be more combination play and things of that like. So be on the lookout for that type of sequence from Negri, Campana, Martinez. That little play that we saw on a couple of occasions is definitely something that could prove effective. It should have led to a goal in this game. Jose, back to you, my friend. Let's talk about some individual players. I will ask you about Krzysztof. What do you think? It's one game. Initial impressions. Your thoughts.
I think it's an upgrade from Damian Lowe. Yeah, I think he was right when he talked about, getting a very good center back. I think he's a player that, with his experience and, within getting a little bit more comfortable within the locker room, he's going to help a lot. Players like McVeigh and of course, Sailor and Mavica. I mean, if you're Sailor and Mavica, I would go right behind him. Like every single move he makes, I'm behind him, and I want to learn from him. I think he's going to be a good player for Inter Miami this year. My only concern with him, it's over the summer, when he gets really, really hot. How is that going to affect him? Because obviously, the weather here is something that he's not used to. So, and he's not very old, but, he's getting up there. But I think it's a very good sign.
Franco was retiring Gibbs with the same age.
Gibbs,
yeah,
Gibbs also injury prone, where Sergi.
He's not, as of right now. We you never know what's going to happen. But no, I think it's a very good signing. I think he looked very good. He looked very good, commanding the defense, and I think that's the way it should be. Because remember, you have a young goalkeeper as well in Drake Callender. So, he is a very important part of Inter Miami, and he needs to find a way to become a leader very quickly within this team.
I agree. I thought he was very composed, very polished. Looked like he does have another level in quality over Damian Lowe. Maybe not as quick as Damian Lowe, but probably better positionally. Again, it's one game, but initial impressions were positive.
I like to say one more thing, which is something that we were talking about after the media game in the parking lot. I believe Krzysztof, he is the superstar for Inter Miami at this present time.
Okay, no, hold on. Because now you're gonna get us away from the talking point of this game, and I as the host have to try to. That's why I butt in with you guys, and I cut you guys off sometimes because I have to drive the conversation here forward. And now you're getting us sidetracked. Don't say superstar, because then that's going to make a case that you're not trying to make. You're saying he is the best player on this team. That's what you're saying. That's what your point was.
He's the superstar.
Okay.
I stand by my comment. So, he's the superstar for this team.
No, you don't have to be the best player to be the superstar. You could be the biggest name and not be the super. Okay.
Now, he's the superstar.
Okay. All right. So Jose thinks Sergi Krzysztof is Inter Miami's best player, and apparently because of that, he also thinks he's the superstar, which I mean, I don't think he's the most media friendly. And I'm not saying because of his interviews, but I'm just saying I don't think he's the one that media will gravitate towards. Just like, Campana, Martinez, way more.
None of those, man. Pizarro is the media. Seriously.
I'd even say Pizarro, but if you want to say he's the best player, I'll listen to that. If you're trying to say he's the superstar, I don't know if you can say that. I don't know, but anyway, again, bring the conversation back to this game.
You can be a superstar without grabbing all the media attention, though.
Sure, but I mean, he's a new signing that is a relative unknown. I don't know how you could call him a superstar, but even relatively speaking, here
for the league.
No, I don't. I still don't. If you ask Inter Miami players to give you his first and last name, I think many people would struggle. So I don't. Anyway, back on point, please. Back on topic. Andrea, you mentioned Rodolfo Pizarro, and he's someone that you have never been shy about speaking about. Like Jose said, Pizarro scores a heck of a goal outside of the penalty area in that 68th minute when the ball trickles out to him. Bryce Duke was dispossessed of the ball. It falls to Pizarro. Pizarro one-times it off the underside of the crossbar, and it goes into the back of the net to give Inter Miami that temporary 2-1 lead. He does his Joker celebration. Again, it returns to DRV PNK Stadium after more than a year's absence. You saw Campana almost did it because of how happy he was. You saw Gregory doing the gesture behind Pizarro. Clearly, this team is a little bit more receptive to Pizarro than maybe the one of a couple years ago where Higuain and Pizarro obviously weren't seeing eye to eye on the field. So what do you think? Is this going to be a year that Pizarro is a regular starter for Inter Miami? Do you see Pizarro starting, I won't say every game, but most games for Inter Miami? I
do.
Why?
I do. Because I think he has shown, and he showed with that goal that he's a special player. And what I mean with special player, he has special talents with the ball that few players inside the team have. So it's up to Phil to keep up his good moment, to play him in a good position. And it's also up to him to keep getting the shots, to keep getting the opportunities. Listen, from what I saw during this game and the other games that we saw on preseason, I think he's very open. He's very willing to put the work in. He goes for every ball. He tries to do it. So I see su disposición. So I think it's now up to the coach to give him that, like we say in Spanish, that palmada in the back, to pat him in the back and tell him, okay, I'm going to give you the starting spot. I'm going to give you the confidence. I trust that you can take this team to the next level.
I'm not so sure he's an every game starter or a regular starter on this team. I think he's going to have to really, really earn that. And I think his place is the least secure of the four in that diamond if Inter Miami sticks with that diamond. I think Stefanelli will be the 10 for the most part. I think Mota's penned in or penciled in 8, and I think Gregory's your 6. I don't know if Pizarro is going to stay there. I mean, he's going to have to really perform. I don't think he had a very good game. I think he scored a heck of a goal, and it's the type of quality that maybe Inter Miami doesn't have a whole lot of in abundance. That type of moment, or a player that can provide that type of moment. But over the course of his entire stint against Austin FC, I saw a lot of the same frustrating habits and decision-making that plagued him during his first stint.
His second half was better because he was in another position. So that is why I tell you, it's also the responsibility of the coach, because you need to learn where your players play best.
Right, but if they're going to play a 4-4-2 diamond, right, that's what they've said they're going to do, then I don't know. I don't know if he's going to impress enough to be consistently a starter. Jose, very quickly, what are your thoughts? Do you see Pizarro being a regular starter on this team? That means, does he start more games than he doesn't?
Yes, right now, yes. I think he's a starter right now. I think we've seen that in preseason. It would be surprising if on Saturday he's not starting, because we've seen him start every match every match during preseason that we were there that was open to media. He started those games. So yeah, I think But I agree with you as well that it feels like Pizarro is playing out of position, but he's not, right? If that makes sense, because
That makes no
you don't
sense.
see but you don't see the full potential. What you expect from him.
But when have we
Playing as
seen the full potential? When's the last time we saw Pizarro showing the potential?
Before he went, Ken.
Yes.
before
So
he went.
how
Pizarro
long ago was that?
Pizarro is not here, and it's been a while. So,
Were
I
you
don't know if
impressed? Were you impressed
that
with his overall performance on Saturday?
no, no, I was not impressed. I saw a glimpse, like after the goal, you can see the confidence was back, but like I said before, it was fading out as the match went on. So I think it's on him. For me, it's not as much as Phil at this point. It's on him. You have one more year on your contract. The 2024, you're going to need a new team. Do you want to be chasing teams, or do you want to be chased by so many teams in Mexico or in MLS or anywhere else? That's on Pizarro right now. He needs to make that decision.
Okay, so we're going to push past what our desired goal was, and figures so because we had the media game to talk about. So that's fine. But going forward, from week 1 forward, we're going to try to do it within our intense time. So let's keep going. We're going Miami Total Futbol Radio After Dark. Let's quickly... Anything else from this game? Anything else? I thought Drake Callender... he had a lot of rough moments, especially in the second half with the ball at his feet. Not instilling a whole lot of confidence in that sense as the season draws near. Thought Bryce Duke was a bright spot there, and a lot of people have been asking me, is he or should he be the number 10 for Inter Miami, since they don't really have a natural number 10? Is Bryce Duke the closest thing to it? I pumped the brakes there. I don't know if he's ready yet. Yes, he had a solid performance off the bench in this one, but a lot of changes were made on both sides, and that does influence the game. Inter Miami also changed their formation. That's not taking away anything from what Bryce Duke did, but these things do play a factor in the run of play. So in a regular game, from the start of a match, is Bryce Duke a player you can count on to be that number 10? I'm not so sure. I'm not so convinced at this point in his career. He's still fairly young and inexperienced, right? Like last year was the first real season where he got minutes and he showed some flashes. I just don't think he's ready there to be a starting number 10 at MLS level. I think Stefan will be the guy.
I think Bryce Duke, if he fights for a spot behind Coco and Stefanelli, I think he's going to be in trouble. If I'm Bryce Duke, I'm fighting right behind Pizarro.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I think. I agree with that. Yeah. Because I just don't see him play. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not. I'm not saying Bryce Duke's not talented. He's talented, but I think because of his inexperience, because of his age, or more so because of his inexperience than his age, the decision making isn't there, like on a consistent enough basis to be a starter. Because it's different when you come into a game like this one, where the game's a little bit more open. Now there's a bunch of subs made. You have a little bit more space and a little bit more room to operate in. A game that's 0-0 from the start, it's not the same thing. And I don't think that Bryce Duke in that situation with the decision making that he hasn't acquired yet, I don't think he could be that number 10. I don't think he can start as a 10 regularly and make the same type of impact. That's just my personal opinion. But I know not everybody shares that. All right, well then let's leave it there for the Austin FC game and switch gears quickly to this weekend's game. A quick little preview of Inter Miami's season opener on Saturday evening at Drive-In Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, against CF Montreal, the fellow Eastern Conference side. Now, it's a team that, as you guys very well know, has Romel Kyoto, the Honduran attacker, who has been no stranger to scoring a goal here or there on Inter Miami. But they do have a new head coach in Hernan Losada. So a bit of a question mark as to what we should expect from CF Montreal. But we probably know what to expect from Inter Miami. So very quickly to dive into the game, I want your lineup predictions. What do you think, Jose? Do you think we see the exact same lineup that we saw against Austin FC? And do we see it in the exact same formation?
No, I don't think we see the same lineup. I would say yes to the formation, but I believe Coco starts instead of Stefanelli. I think that will be my guess. Just because the Stefanelli, yeah, I think he needs some more time to get used to his teammates, especially Joseph and Campana. That connection is going to be very important. So that's why I believe Stefanelli he will eventually become the starter, but for Saturday I think Coco starts.
And the rest of the lineup is the same.
Yeah, I mean Drake, DeAndre, Christoph, McVeigh, and Negri, then Gregory, Mota, Pizarro, Coco, Joseph, and Campana. I don't know if Joseph is 100%. I think he'll play 60 minutes, but I just think, the marketing part of things, especially in MLS, I think the team is telling Phil, you have to start Joseph Martinez.
I mean, they can tell him whatever he wants. It's Phil Neville's call at the end of the day. So I
Yeah.
get there's outside pressures, but I mean, it's Phil Neville's call. Andrea, what do you think about the starting lineup on Saturday night? Who starts for Inter Miami? Do you agree with Jose? It's that lineup, and are we going to see the 4-4-2 diamond again? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see that formation, and I was convinced maybe Stefanelli is gonna be the same lineup as the game with Austin, but Jose made me think because it's true, and what Phil has been saying, it may be that maybe Corentin Jean could get that nod in front of Stefanelli if you analyze and think about what Phil has said and said during the roundtables and have been saying. But then I think about, well, he's gonna start Joseph, so why not take the same risk with Stefanelli? So I'm leaning maybe an 80% that is the same lineup and a 20% agreeing with Jose.
I wasn't so convinced that during the Austin FC game that this would be the formation, and now I do think this is the formation, and I do think this is the starting lineup. I think this is the group you'll see on Saturday against CF Montreal. I don't think there will be any changes. I guess Coco is a possibility. Joseph Martinez could potentially be dropped, and you could potentially maybe see Ariel Lasser there since Joseph Martinez is not 100% ready. Something he said, something Phil Neville also stated post game against or after the draw with Austin FC. So those are potentially two changes. Maybe Pizarro is someone that doesn't.
I think
necessarily
Pizarro
start.
starts.
Yeah, I
Robert Taylor is not here, so you need to have a spark if you want. If you're losing in the second half, you need to have some possibilities. And when you look at the bench, if you bench Pizarro, you're not starting with the best that you have available on the bench. So I don't think Pizarro will serve on the bench, especially because Robert Taylor, and we didn't mention this before, is on Finland getting his green card. His paperwork for his green card, so he's not going to be here.
I think it's going to be the same team. I think, there's possibilities. Again, Lassiter for Joseph, Coco for Stefanelli, either Duke or if Taylor returns for Pizarro. Those are possibilities, but I think what you see is what you get. Franco Negri was maybe a bit of a question mark because he went down with an injury in this game, but they took him out at halftime just for precautionary measures. He seems to be okay, so he should be able to start. I think they're going to go with what the best team is, even if it's not at 100% fitness or at 100% sharpness. So I think the same team, same group. Quickly, Jose, 2 sentences. What's the key to the game for Inter Miami?
I think they need to score early. That's what they need to do. If they score early, they'll be able to dictate the tempo of the game. And then, they might find an opportunity late in the game to counterattack to seal the deal. So you have to score early. You have the excitement of the first game of the season. You have the fans there. That's the way it should be.
Andrea, key to the game.
Stopping Romel Kyoto.
Shocked. I'm shocked to my very core.
I'm serious. I'm joking and half as serious because Romel Kyoto, this is something I've heard in Honduras, tiene de hijo a Inter Miami because he has scored a lot of goals in the matches that his team and him have played against Inter Miami. But in all seriousness, also not only Kyoto but stopping Montreal and the game. I know they have a new coach, but Hernan Lozada is also a very good coach who has experience, and I think Montreal is gonna be keep being one of the best teams in MLS, and it's gonna be very dangerous. So the key to the game for me is a good defense, a concentrated defense, and stopping Romel Kyoto.
So I will go with what it's similar to Hoses, but not really. I don't think they need to score early. I think they need to be efficient with the chances they have because they weren't against Austin FC. They could have taken a lead on multiple occasions against Austin FC in that first half, and they didn't because they failed to put the ball into the back of the net despite some decent looks. And even Phil Neville at one point threw a fist into the air in frustration because he saw Joseph Martinez miss on another chance where a ball came in from Campana to Martinez at the top of the 18, and Martinez, with all the goal to shoot at, places the ball too close to the goalkeeper, and it's an easy save. So I think being effective, being efficient with the chances, making sure that they make the most out of them, I think that will be the key to the game for Inter Miami. Keeping possession is also not a bad one. DeAndre Yedlin talked on Tuesday to us during his roundtable segment about how Inter Miami wants to be better with the ball, wants to keep the ball a little bit more, that they didn't do enough of that they rushed forward a little bit too much and got too into the transition or into a transition battle with Austin FC, something Phil Neville also seemed to allude to after the game when he was like analyzing the match and saying that it got too transitional. So it seems like Inter Miami wants to be better in terms of possession, not always darting forward, keeping the ball, waiting for the moment to combine and break the opponent down, as well as also, like Jose loves to say, and like I agree with him, sometimes to defend with the ball. How? By having it. So that's the key to the game for me. All right, we've been talking for a while. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do our season predictions, including what we think about where Inter Miami will finish and whether we think Lionel Messi will arrive. We'll also do a very brief Q&A session, and our final thoughts. We'll do all that after this. All right, listeners, time for our preseason predictions. And this is a pretty tough challenge because it's MLS. And all you need is one big signing at midseason, and everything can change. So I think it would be more fair to do midseason predictions because I think that's a more fair barometer for what MLS is, but that's not as much fun. So we'll put our hands to the fire, put our hands to the flame, and see how we do. Last year I didn't do too bad in terms of MVP and top scorer and all those things. I thought I did pretty well, although Jose likes to...
horrible.
No. See, Jose likes to take away my preseason predictions because what I said something in midseason. And that's why I'm saying, again, preseason predictions in MLS should probably be made more accurately for midseason as opposed to entire season. But nonetheless, let's go. We're going to run through a few of them here, starting with MVP. Who will be Inter Miami's MVP in 2023? Jose.
Campana.
Andrea?
Pizarro.
No, Andrea.
God.
Come on. Andrea, do your biases know no bounds?
It's gonna be Pizarro. It's my opinion, guys. Is this a free country, a free podcast?
Oh my! Yes, it is a free country, but your biases are just your biases. Like you can't see past the biases, Andrea. There's nobody else besides. I don't even think Pizarro's mother is having Pizarro as the MVP for Inter Miami. Only Andrea Yanez has Rodolfo Pizarro as Inter Miami's MVP.
You can roast me at the end of the year.
I mean, that's not even worth roasting you because I don't think anyone else has that outlandish opinion. Okay, I will say Leonardo Campana. I'll go with Jose there. I think Campana will be the team MVP unless a certain somebody arrives midseason. Top goal scorer for the team. Andrea, you start this time.
Campana.
Jose.
Campana. Yeah, no doubt. I think he scores over 17 goals this year.
We're going 3 for 3. I say Campana as well. I'll say 18 goals. 18 goals. 20 plus would be a really good season. I think he gets to 18. So.
And I stand by Joseph Martinez scoring less than 10 goals, by the way.
Okay. Best defender. Now, this doesn't mean the player on the back line that proves to be the best defensively. It just means the player in that back line that has the best overall performance levels. Contributes either just defensively or in the attack, however you want to see it, but just from game to game has the best performance levels this season. Jose.
Negri. Franco Negri.
Andrea.
Negri.
It's between Negri and Kristoff for me.
Yeah, I was between them too, but
Kristoff will struggle with the heat.
Yeah.
So Negri.
I don't know. Negri. I know it's preseason. I know he's getting to 100%, but something tells me he may not be overly durable this year.
Oh, he's gonna be very good, man. He's gonna be.
I'm not saying he's not gonna be good. I'm just saying I think I could see him missing some games. Kristoff, I don't know if I see him missing some games. So I'll say Kristoff. Sergi gets my pick for best defensive player this year. Breakout player / most surprising. Jose.
Most surprising. That's a tough one. I don't know who could surprise me with this team.
Sergi, Negri, Stefanelli.
No, I already said what I expect from them, but maybe Stefanelli. I think that would be a good pick. I think he looks good. Once he get used to everything, he said his family's here now, so that will obviously help. So yeah, I can go with the Stefanelli. Yeah.
Andrea.
I'm gonna say Negri. I think he's gonna have a great year, and he's gonna be a breakout player, not just for Inter Miami, but for MLS.
I will say Stefanelli looks like I like what I see from Stefanelli, but I think there's more competition for places there. I'll say Franco Negri. Even though I think he has injury concerns that might take him out of some games, I still think he'll have a breakout season. Looks promising. Okay, most disappointing. Who will fail to deliver up to expectations? I think Jose and I have a pretty.
Let me go first then.
You can begin.
Robbie Robinson.
Oh my goodness.
Do you have any expectation from Robert Robinson? I mean, okay, go ahead, finish.
Most disappointing player of the season, I think it's gonna be Robbie because he's not getting chances in this team.
But I mean, if he plays 2 games in the season, I mean, I can expect him to play 5 or 7.
I'm face palming at Andres.
I don't expect him to play many games. La Cava is better.
So okay.
Yeah, Jake La Cava.
That's an interesting one. That could be a most surprising or breakout candidate, dark horse maybe. But okay, I can't believe Andres said Robbie Robinson. Like, I'm just face palming. Jose.
I think most disappointing, and not because of him, but because of the way the team is playing this year, is going to be Ari Lassiter. Because, I mean, what we saw from him last year was very good, and I don't think we're going to see the same this year just because they're not going to be playing through the wings. They're going to be central. So, he's caught out of position. So I'm very concerned about that because, he's still young. Well, not young, but, he's looking to get a big opportunity, and I don't think he's going to get it this year. There's not a position for him within this team.
I'm going to say, and though I do think he'll do better than he did the last time we saw him in Inter Miami jersey, I don't think it'll be enough. So I will say Rodolfo Pizarro. I think he will, he is a designated player. So just based off that alone, you have to expect him to produce some decent numbers. I don't know if he does. So I'll choose Rodolfo Pizarro. Maybe I'm wrong at the end of the season. We'll see. All right.
We're not that different in just some points.
I feel like Andrea's feeling a little self-conscious about her choices.
No, No, I am comfortable with my choices. I am comfortable. We will see. We'll see. It's a long season, and we'll see. Listen, in this league, a lot of teams playing. We saw last year the perfect example. Gonzalo didn't play, and everyone wanted him gone. And listen, he ended up as the MVP, the goal scorer, and everything from the team. So
And
I'm just
Cup
gonna
Player of
trust.
the Year.
I'm gonna
After he
trust.
was the
Like with Pizarro, I always stood, and I told you, and we had a lot of discussions before I joined the podcast, where I told you I don't care if Higuain has one leg. I will pray him before everyone that is available, even when he was on the bench. So
Welcome to
stuck.
2022. Welcome back to 2022. Andrea's
I
taking us
stuck
back to
with that.
2022.
Yeah, I stuck with that. So I'm gonna stick with my footballing god with Pizarro, and I think he's gonna have a good season.
This could be a lot of fun at the end of the year. Let me tell
Yes.
Couple more here. Couple more. Lionel Messi. Do we see him don the pink and black? Messi and la Rosa Negra. Do we see that happen in 2023? We answered this in the parking lot. I will tell everyone if you guys have changed your answer since then, and I will call you a liar right here and now. Andrea, starting with you.
No.
Jose.
Yes, I think he will be here.
I agree with you. I think so as well, which is why, I said maybe the MVP could change. Maybe, things could change in that regard. Because I do think Messi is on his way to South Florida. It's not inside information, just my supposition, just my sensation. I think he'll be here. I think Inter Miami, life will change for Inter Miami in a big way in 2023. All right. Position in the standings in the Eastern Conference. Top 9 make the playoffs. 8 versus 9, it was just announced. We'll play a play-in game. Then after that, the first round of the playoffs consists of 3 games.
That is enough for Messi not to come here.
Where does Inter Miami finish in the table? Jose.
I think they make the playoffs. I think they'll be in 6th place. I think
Same as last year.
Yeah, but it's just that this year making the playoffs is it's blah. It's 9 teams making the playoffs, so they'll be 6.
According to you, like by your way of viewing it, you should only be saying there's only 7 teams that make the playoffs because 8 versus 9, or I guess 8 teams because 8 versus 9 doesn't count.
This year is different because it's according to the rules. In 2020, that was
all right. We're not going back to 2020. We're not going back to 20. We know your stance. We know your stance.
Don't bring those arguments in. Then don't bring those arguments in. So
Andrea, where does Inter Miami finish in 2023 in the table?
I think between 6 or 7. I didn't want to say 6 because Jose already said it, but yeah, maybe 6. The same as last year. They haven't done enough for me to put them above. So I think that's the measure, 6.
And they'll say that they wanted to play a playoff game at home, so they'll get 1 out of 2. And maybe more.
More because with the new format, yeah.
So mission accomplished. That's it. You know how it is.
I will say, yes, they make the playoffs. I think. Because I think Messi's coming, so I have to take that into consideration here. I'll say 7th with Messi on board. Without Messi, they might miss the playoffs. They could finish 8th or 9th, but they could also miss the playoffs. If Messi's here, I think they make it. But I don't think they make it as one of the top teams in the East. Now, end result. Any trophies for Inter Miami this year?
No.
Jose?
No trophies.
I say 3 for 3 there. No trophies for Inter Miami in 2023. Okay. All right. Very quickly, Q&A session. We'll take one. It's from IMCF Geo. Has the dislike borderline hatred of Pizarro been a bit unjust? Apart from Lewis Morgan, Pizarro was a bright spot in a rather lackluster squad. He was a decent player and scored up until Higuain joined. I feel like people forget that. Thoughts?
Thank you, Gio.
Well, we've touched on this. And I mean, we've said this in different pods over the years. And yes, Pizarro did perform better before Higuain arrived. Once Higuain arrived, the performance levels dipped, and he just wasn't the same. Now, can he rediscover that on a team without Higuain? I mean, the odds are better.
I really think he can because in this team he is surrounded by people that like him and like him maybe more than other players that are stars in comillas in the team. So I think you could see that when he scored that goal and all of them ran to him and how happy they were, truly happy they were. So I think this is a team that is a good with his teammates. This is a team that is a good fit for Pizarro. And listen, I have seen Pizarro do amazing things when he was in Mexico. First, everyone remembers him in Monterrey, but he came out of a Chivas and he was a brilliant player there. So
How many
I
years
think
ago
he
was
still
that,
has it.
Andrea? How
Yeah,
many
that
years
was
ago was
years
that?
ago, but he is a player that has talent, Franco. And when you're a player that has talent, in this league, it doesn't take that much. Listen, if
I think he
Chicharito
needs to
is
be the guy. I think he needs to feel like he's the guy to be at his best. And that's what we saw from him early on in 2020. I don't think he's going to be or made to be feel like he's the guy on this team in 2023.
yeah, by the team. I agree with
So
that
I don't
because
think
by
that we'll
the team, he's
see. I
not
don't
that.
think we'll see that version of him. I think we could see a better version of him, like I said before. I just don't think we'll see that much better version. Not enough. Like clearly, I think he's going to be the most disappointing player this season. So
I think the only way he excels in this team is if he's able to move past Coco and Stefanelli, gets an opportunity as a 10 and becomes a regular 10 for this team. I think that's the only way. I don't think it's a good enough 8. And obviously that's a very slim chance because you need to move past 2 players that are fighting for the starting spot, maybe move past even Bryce Duke. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't think it's that good of an 8 to excel. You would never sign Pizarro to a DP contract if you're going to play him as an 8, the way he's going to play this year.
Yeah, it's the disrespect that Pizarro has gone through with Inter Miami is a lot.
I don't know if it's disrespect. I just
Andrea
think
with her disrespect, man. Those claims of disrespect are getting outlandish here, man. They're getting outrageous, Andrea. Like it's not disrespect just because you're not playing.
He's the only designated player and he's not on one billboard. That is disrespect.
No, but he hasn't earned that. He hasn't earned anything
And
with
Joseph
Inter.
Martinez did. He just came to the team and he's in all the billboards.
Well, that's marketing. That's different. I'm talking.
Well, you're playing Pizarro millions of dollars and you're playing paying Joseph less. So
that's
it is disrespect.
That's marketing. We're talking, with Pizarro playing as a 10 and earning a spot in the starting 11.
I'm responding to Franco that I think the team is disrespecting Pizarro and the decisions in marketing, in his media availabilities and everything. It's a disrespect for a player that is a designated player.
I don't know.
And Andrea's going on one. Maybe Andrea has her own islands, and it's not too far from Jose's island. Maybe you guys are just like out in the ocean, not too far from.
Well, you told me that with Higuain last year, and see, we know what happened.
Did I know? Okay, all right. All right. Let's go to the final thoughts so we can wrap up the show. It's been a long one. I'll start now. During the media game or the media day on Tuesday. As fun as we were having in the stadium, as soon as the game ends, people grab their phones again and start scrolling through Twitter, and there was some not so great news for Inter Miami that overshadowed, I think, needlessly, all the positive stuff that did happen on Tuesday. And that was the Athletic reported, or the Athletic stated, that 2 of the reporters were uninvited to media day because of a story that they published over the weekend from an exclusive interview they had with Phil Neville. And that story, if I'm not mistaken, had to do with Phil Neville being critical of the MLS playoff format not being announced just yet. And, well, it wasn't anything that, like, the reporters said or stated. It was just, they just presented what Phil Neville said. But apparently Inter Miami took exception to that. I've had multiple people say that, it's Jorge Mas, not necessarily Phil Neville, who probably took exception to it. I don't know who it was, but regardless, it was a bit of a black eye on what was otherwise a fantastic day for Inter Miami. And look, it's unnecessary, it's unjust. You can't just block media from coming to events just because they write something you don't like. You don't control the media in that way. So whoever made that call, that's not how this works. And it's like on a day that was going so well for Inter Miami, why do you guys have to like get in your own way? Like you essentially spit into the wind and back into your own face on a day where you were going to get so much good publicity. You ruined it. So unnecessary, unjust, needless, and just disappointing. Disappointing that on a day that where we were having so much fun and it was looking like it was going to be a positive memory for Inter Miami, it comes, of course, with some negativity, as has been the case for much of the first 3 years and change. All right, that's my final thought. Jose, your turn.
I'll share your final thought because I think it made me feel bad when I heard the news because I will always stand with reporters in situations like this one because you have to do your job. You have to do your job, and your job is to report. And especially in this case, it's an interview. So you ask the questions, and you get answers, and you work on them. You write a story depending on that. You have information, you have a message that you want to send, and I think last time I checked, we are free to write here, and some outlets are so good that they will let you put your opinion out there and back you up. And I think that's exactly what happened with the Athletic, which
Well, they didn't even put an opinion. They just put out what Phil Neville said. And I don't know if it was the framing or I don't know what Inter Miami took exception with. But if it's what Phil Neville said, it's what Phil Neville said. I mean, I read the article from the Athletic. I didn't see anything where I would be like, well, I could see Inter Miami's point there. It's reporting. And did Phil Neville say something that is not necessarily MLS friendly? Sure. But
well,
it's what Phil Neville said. That's not the reporter's fault. That's what Phil Neville said.
In a similar scenario today, Steve Cherundolo was talking about the same situation, and he did talk about the playoff format, and LAFC ended up cutting that part of the press conference that they sent out to
Bush
media.
League, man.
So,
Bush League. That's Bush League, man.
Yeah,
but
that is terrible.
It's bad, but we've been in MLS and we know those things happen. When they want to send a message out there, the playoff format
Inter Miami is supposed to be a big club. That's what they claim they want to be. So act like a big club. The same way you acted like such a big club in terms of the media game and how you got every detail right there. You got to be a big club across the board. You don't get to nitpick national media coverage of the team. I bet you if they had come into Drive Pink Stadium or into Phil Neville's offices and written this freaking amazing piece about how Phil Neville, the man who turned the tide in 2022 and is going to steer the ship to success in 2023 with Lionel Messi potentially in the wings. I bet you that would have been, incredible, amazing. Pat on the back for those reporters. But because it's not painted in the way you want, then you can't just shut your door. You just have to accept it for what it is. And again, it's not even like the Athletic, wrote something like,
especially it's because it's what Phil said.
Exactly. So
not even the reporters. It's Phil said it, and he has expressed these sentiments in the past a lot of times, and he always gets a call from the MLS office telling him to please don't say that, blah blah blah. We have seen it a lot of times, but this time Inter Miami making that decision to not let the reporters from the Athletic come to the media day, it was really horrible. I don't know who decided it. I, as Franco said, I don't think it was Phil Neville. I don't think it was the communication staff that was with us there. I think I don't even think Jorge Mas decided that because I think.
So who do you think decided it? Name a name. It sounds like
MLS office, MLS press office.
Yeah, I would agree with that scenario. I would say they got an email, a call from the league, and that's the way Inter Miami reacted. That would be my guess. That would be my guess, which is not good regardless, because you could have done something.
Yeah, the team could have handled it better.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I wouldn't put much past MLS, but I think it's more. I think it came from Inter Miami, man. I think someone in Inter Miami, whether it's Jorge Mas, I don't know, Chris Henderson, someone from Inter Miami was not happy with that article. That's what I think. That's
Listen,
what
Inter Miami needs every press that they need. I don't think they care if it's good or bad.
No, Inter Miami does care. Andrea, we were just talking, and I've said it on the shows I was on earlier this week to preview the season. Like, I got certain pushback this preseason for putting the scores of the preseason games out there with the goal scorers. So clearly, there's for some reason Inter Miami has a problem with like media doing its job. But again, if we're doing our job when things are dandy and well, then that's fine. But when it's not in the way that they can control, then that seems to be an issue. And that is an issue because you do not control the media. The media does not work for you. Like that needs to be clear. I don't understand why there's this confusion as to what the roles are.
The story was about the playoff format, wasn't it?
Yes.
So Inter Miami, they don't even know if they're going to be in the playoffs. So why would they be so bothered by that?
Oh, come on, host. I mean, that's a different talking point. Like that's completely different.
Yeah,
it's the league, Franco. It happened today with LAFC when people began asking Cherundolo about the format, and he began saying it's horrible. They cut it off.
Well, that's okay. That's different. But like.
It's a league like a directrice from the
league. Maybe because in the article it does say like the initial quote that Phil Neville had, and there was like an editor's note or Inter Miami followed up by saying blah 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 blah. Like they kind of try to give like a much more flowery post interview comment for the Athletic. So. Maybe it was MLS cracking down the whip on Inter Miami, and I don't know. But either way, it's unnecessary and it's ugly and it's not the way it should be.
I stand with the Athletic, right?
Yeah, we stand, of course. As media members, as independent media members that we are, absolutely. And it sucks that we have to talk about this because again, Tuesday was such a great day from the local standpoint, and then Inter Miami botched that. But they botched that nonetheless. So here we are. All right. Well, let's leave it there. We've had a long, jam-packed show. I didn't even get to talk about how I think La Noche is Inter Miami's best jersey of all time, despite its monochrome crest. But I'll leave that for another time. So if you're going to the game this weekend, enjoy, have fun. We will be back next week to analyze the first game of the 2023 season. So for Jose Armando, for Andrea Yanez, Franco Panizo, you have been listening to Miami Total Futbol Radio. And we'll talk to you guys again